Yo, what's up, Brooks?
What's going on?
AKA the show. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good, man. Man, there's some news today, man, in the NBA. We gotta chop it up and talk about it today. Uh, the buck doesn't stop here. It stops in Milwaukee, and so Damian Lillard, Dame Dollar, who's hotter than Dame Dollar? We're gonna find out. But he's now in Title Town, over there in Milwaukee. So we'll see what's going on. With that. We'll break it down. We'll talk about the after effects of this too, because it wasn't just Damian Lillard going to the Bucks. You have the Phoenix Suns that are involved in this trade. You have the Milwaukee Bucks involved with this trade, and you're probably going to have some other teams involved because of some pieces that were moved around, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, excited. Just a little late night NBA talk. I'm here for it.
Yeah, man. Hey, with the season upon us now,
About a month away.
yeah, what better news to have than this? So let's get to it. Like, subscribe, notify, share. Sharing is caring. Do all those things. You never know. Look, man, you just saw me over in the boxing studio. Now, have to get over here and talk some NBA because we have a
Ranch.
major trade in the league. Uh, show. So, man, let's go ahead and start the show off. Show. Let
Let's
us
do it.
let us know what's going on, man. What's going on in the NBA world, man?
So we got a three-team trade. Obviously, the big piece is we got Dame going to the Bucks. Damian Lillard, who we thought, you know, who's expressed he wanted to be, play for the Heat and only the Heat. But he ends up going to Milwaukee. Um, the Suns are involved, and obviously the Trailblazers. So let's start with Portland next. They get a really nice haul. Jrue Holiday, Deandre Ayton, Monty Kamara, who's the draft pick, the second round draft pick from this year. 2029 Bucks unprotected, and a couple pick swaps in 28 and 30 unprotected again.
Wow.
Um, and then the Suns, they're going to get Yusuf Nurkic, the often hurt Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. So that is your three-team trade.
Wow. Got some pieces moving. And man, we gotta dive into this thing, man. But before you do that, make sure everybody please scan this code right here. Go to TikTok, type in Mr. 411. All right, all these
Yes, sir.
moving pieces going around, Brooks. We have to talk about it. Let's first obviously talk about the obvious, which is Dame Dollar in Milwaukee.
Yep. Um, so it looks like the potential starting lineup for the Bucks is going to be obviously Lillard. The Athletic had it as Lillard, Malik Beasley, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. So that's your starting five. That's Chris Middleton, his durability is a question mark. Um, Brook Lopez really still a pretty solid player to be late in his career. Malik Beasley, obviously, and Lillard with Giannis. So that is I mean, caveat this healthy. If they're all healthy, that is a very, very good lineup. I think Lillard fits in well uh, because you got so much length, right? You got so much
Yeah,
length in that starting right in that lineup, so it kind of hides Lillard's stature and um, it kind of backs him up. It kind of gives him a good lengthy defensive lineup that hides his short stature. So I think I think that's a positive. So it's a good fit from that perspective. I think uh, you just got to think about how are they going to mesh offensively. Lillard's a high usage player. Obviously, Giannis is. Chris Middleton needs touches. Um, so how are those three, gonna split it offensively? That's the biggest thing. Um, See if they, because I mean, Giannis is kind of that point forward type guy. He has the ball in his hands a lot. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they meld offensively.
Yeah, that's definitely something to look for. You got to see how that's going to work. Obviously, well, the good thing is that this trade occurred finally before the trade deadline. Uh, so that's a good thing that they happened before. I mean, before the season began. Excuse me, before training camp and all that stuff. That's what I meant by that. So now they do have time to at least have during this training camp in the preseason to kind of see how things can work initially. What I do like about this trade, and I wish I could find the video and where this was my number one team that I thought that Lillard would land to, is because the issues that have that hit Giannis is generally when teams are able to wall him off, and we've seen that happen against Boston. We've seen that happen even with Miami a little bit. We've seen that occur, and the one difference was once you wall off Giannis, where else are the Bucks going to go at that point? Now they actually have a guy who has the ability to score 50 in a game. He has the ability to get hot. And take over a ball game from the perimeter. Now this stretches the floor even more. And now, if you think there's a problem with keeping Giannis away from the basket, there's at least going to have to be a defender or two that you. I mean, you can't just leave Lillard. You know what I mean? So now it's like double trouble here. So I'm wondering how the effect of Lillard being able to score from the perimeter, that's going to really help. Also, his playmaking when Giannis is not in the game. I think that gives him that superstar player instead of having to count on just Giannis as the superstar player. You probably can even load manage Giannis a little bit throughout the season, even though I don't like the load management part of the league. But those are some things I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, definitely going to take some of the. You can't. Who are you going to double team Lillard or are you going to double team Giannis? So it's going to obviously Lillard's presence is going to open up things a little bit more for Giannis. Um, I do think they could potentially take a step back defensively. Jrue Holiday is a really good player still and an elite. Maybe not as elite as he has been, but still a pretty high level defender on the perimeter. So you take that away, I think they are going to miss that.
Yeah.
But you got to think about what's does Lillard's offensive production outweigh that? And I guess we'll find out. I think in short term, I think it could. I definitely think Lillard's offensive production could outweigh you missing Jrue Holiday's perimeter defense. But we'll see.
Yeah, we will. I like the part that you also mentioned that the length, and so they didn't have to compromise. They didn't have to lose Lopez, so that's a good thing. And again, he can shoot from the outside as well to stretch the defense. So, I mean, could you imagine a pick and roll with Lillard and Lillard and Brooks, or even with Brooks Lopez out already spaced out, and then you have like a Giannis and Lillard pick and roll situation where you got the Giannis diving to the basket, you have Lillard either driving or pulling up because he can shoot from mid range too. I mean, driving kick. I mean, it's so many things that can happen here. Uh, for the Bucks that it makes them this makes them formidable. And guess what? Didn't even mention Middleton. And now he's going to get wide open looks. So we'll see how it goes. But yes, the defensive side of things, we definitely need to see how they work that out. Two type of role players are going to be able to step up on the defense end and make up for Holiday going places.
Well,
I get,
I think the last thing to note here about the Bucks is the looming player option for Giannis in 25-26, right?
yeah,
If he declines that, he's a free agent in a couple seasons. So this is maybe this is one of those moves like, hey, we're serious about keeping you. We don't make you happy. You know, um, Here's Damian Lillard. So
Hey
definitely,
man.
definitely factored in. I think factored into this trade.
Oh yeah, excellent. Shout out to Bill Dukes. What's going on?
What
There's
up?
Duke. Shout out. All right. L Money. L Money says Clippers in six. Okay, so Clippers in six. All right. We would love for you to explain why you have Clippers in six. I definitely would have been with you a year or two ago, but for some reason, Kawhi Leonard and George, we just can't get them on the floor enough. But they definitely have a formidable lineup, in my opinion. Uh, so we'll if you got some more to say there, please give us a comment on that. All right, Miss Dukes. Yeah, it's all good. Everything's good. Looks like it's all good in Milwaukee right now too. Let us know your team too, Miss
B
Dukes.
plus draft grade. B plus draft grade from ESPN, by the way, for the Bucks. B plus.
Wow, B plus. Okay. I mean that's close to an A, right? So yeah, I think that's fair.
Right.
You gain the guy that can score 50, and and the key to this too. What I really like about this is that, and we're going to get more into this, that this was a trade, and so other teams that are involved, they were able to get some things to help them out. And we'll talk about it. We're going to Portland next because Deandre Ayton is a piece that went there. So we'll talk about what's going on there. But it's more so, and these are two guys that have been loyal to their teams, and the teams have been loyal to them. And so it's not one of those things where like players try to stack up somewhere and just pop up somewhere and try to win that way. So I think this is being done in an organic manner. So let's talk about DeAndre Ayton. Number one pick at one time, and he is now blazing a new trail. He's in Portland, and so how do you think this is going to work out?
Yeah. So Portland. Well, one thing I will say for Portland, they were too reliant on Nurkic, who was never healthy.
Yeah,
So to get a more reliable center in Aiton, even though Nurkic, when healthy, is a really good player, he can't stay on the court. So in that respect, I think that's a plus for them. Um, Aiton's 16 for his career, 16.7 points per game, 10.4 rebounds, 1.6 assists. It's I think the Suns' willingness to trade him, uh, I think that kind of underrates his value a little bit. He's a solid player. I guess where he got drafted in relation to where he got drafted, you expect a little bit more, but you're getting like 16-10 every game. I mean, that's
yeah.
uh, that's solid. That's solid. So I think he's going to fit in good, be a reliable back to the basket scorer for their new guards for Scoot Wilson or Scoot Henderson. Uh, so that's going to be good to have that reliable score while these young guards get their legs under them. Um, so I like in that aspect. I like the picks. They got an unprotected 2029 pick. They got a couple swaps, and they got Jrue Holiday. So I guess that's the other kind of piece to talk about here. The Bucks don't seem, sorry, the Trailblazers don't seem content on keeping Holiday. So I think they're gonna. Reports are they're gonna go ahead and start looking to flip him.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got their young guards, um, and they want to go with that young lineup, and they want to. And good on them. I mean, I guess it's good for Jrue Holiday as a veteran to get the opportunity to go somewhere that's not as much of a rebuild as Portland. Um, so that's another interesting piece, and I think Holiday is still a very valuable player. He, again, his perimeter defense, I've seen him
It's
every
elite.
time as a Hawks fan, every time he goes against, Trey Young goes against him, it's a tough matchup. It's a tough matchup. So I know his value as far as that perimeter defense, and he is going to be a valuable piece on a contending team, I think. Um,
Yeah. I think one of those pieces will teams that he could be a piece for is Philadelphia. The time that he was an All Star, it was when he was in Philadelphia. I think he would fit in nice with Embiid. With Embiid being a big man in the middle that can block shots, and do you have a good perimeter defender there with Jrue Holiday, and don't forget one of his former teammates, PJ Tucker. Like, so now you're looking at another perimeter defender. I think that Philadelphia, if I was Philly at this point, I would try to get Drew over there in some shape, form, or fashion. I don't know if that means Harden can be involved with that. I don't know how the money works and all that. But even
Right.
if Harden, is still there, you get a defender to go along with that, and so and he's familiar with that franchise. So I think Philly, Miami, I think, and we'll talk a little bit more about Miami in a little bit, y'all, because there's something we have to reveal there. But Miami Heat, hey, he's tailor made to play for the Heat. Defender first and foremost, but can still give you some offense and gritty and hard working. He fits right into the Heat culture. So I think the Heat can actually rebound from not getting Lillard by somehow getting another guard, which could be Drew Holiday. And so somebody's going to get a very good player right there, and that's going to lead them further than where they were.
Yeah, so Drew Holiday, 16.4 points per game, 4.1 assists per game, 6.5, or 4.1 rebounds per game, 6.5 assists. He's a five-time All-Defensive Player, and of course, a champion, NBA champion with the Bucks. So
There it is.
you're getting a very, very solid player. One who's kind of, I think an aspect I like to look at is how do some of these players play when they get on like the Olympic teams and the people World Cup teams, and he's played valuable minutes on a lot of these teams. So I mean, I think again, don't he's a very important piece of this trade, and I think he can be a very important asset for a team. He's going to be, so it's going to be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, where we're going next is Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to talk about the other piece of this trade in more detail. You mentioned Nurkic already. He's going to the Phoenix Suns. Um, and so, how do you think that's going to necessarily work out for Phoenix? Best case, worst case.
I mean, Nurkic. Again, you got Durant, Booker, Beal. I mean, if I will say, like, if Nurkic is healthy, I mean, and again, I'll preface this by saying it's a big if, and also like you're bringing Nurkic in on a team where you got Bradley Beal, where you got Kevin Durant, who are not at this point the most durable people at their stages in their careers. So it's just one of those hypotheticals. Is he going to stay on the floor? And if he does, with all the talent the Suns have, that could be a good piece for him. He's a really talented guy when he's out there. He's 12.3 points, 8.6 rebounds, 2.3 assists for his career.
Yeah.
So it's solid. He's solid. Um, so again, can he stay on the floor? Uh, They also got Grayson Allen, who I think is a good rotational piece. And again,
Yeah.
the Suns need depth, so I don't mind. I don't mind that. And you got a couple of people in the Sierra Little and Keon Johnson who are kind of be role players fighting to get in that rotation. But I definitely think Grayson Allen will crack the rotation. He's a solid, gritty uh, guy who some would call dirty if you watch him play. Uh, but yeah, I think for some reason the Suns just didn't see Ayton on this roster. I guess they saw him more as an asset than a piece on this roster, and maybe that's because of maybe they wanted a more uh, center who can stretch the floor. Maybe the fact that Ayton's kind of a back to the basket player, they thought clogged up the lane for all their offensive weapons on the perimeter. So they viewed him more as an asset than a future piece. Um, so Nurkic is definitely a stretch to four center. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if they can stay healthy. We'll see how that team comes together. I think that this big thing was moving on from Ayton, trying to get a center who fit their what they wanted to do, who could stretch the floor, and then trying to find some depth, right? Any way they could find
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. The ESPN gave a B minus. By the way, Portland B plus, same as the Bucks. The ESPN views this as a pretty fair trade all the way through.
And that's what I'm saying. Going back to my mini rant earlier is that this was a trade, and it looks like teams are able to you know help themselves doing this. And on the surface, it looks good. It looks good for everybody. New start for Aiton. He gets to play with a clean slate, if you will. Um, and Portland definitely going to give him the minutes and give him the freedom to do what he needs to do. So blazing a new trail there. Damian
Mm-hmm.
Lillard and Giannis, two veteran players. One is trying to get his first championship. Another wants more than just one. You know what I mean? So that works out well. And they help and they continue to help the market there, the Milwaukee market. It's not like these guys are playing for New York or LA or what I'm saying, like there is helping the league there. And so I think that's great. And then we talked about the Drew Holiday aspect of things. Right now he can be a veteran in Portland until Portland does him the favor. And again, I think we both agree that he's going to get moved at some point for the better for both parties involved. And one of the places we mentioned earlier was Miami, but we need to talk about Miami and the Heat, because the Heat was a team where it was pretty obvious that Lillard wanted to go. The Miami Heat wanted Lillard. Only problem was is that they didn't figure out a way to get enough pieces for Portland's liking in some shape, form, or fashion. But we got some more news out of Miami. There's a player in Miami that has something to say about it, and we're gonna let that rip right now. So take a listen, and then we'll talk about it.
Yo, NBA man, y'all need to look into the Bucks for tampering. Y'all do. I'm just gonna put that out there. Y'all didn't hear it from me, but I heard it through somebody. Y'all look at them for tampering.
The Butler said it. Man, he said a lot there. He's saying that the Bucks are tampering. Not sure what they did, because really I didn't hear too much about the Bucks along the way. Um, I just heard the Heat pretty much, more than anything. But yeah, so Butler doesn't look happy about this, man. What you think?
I mean, my take. I don't. I'd have to get more details about why he thought it was tampering.
Yeah,
Um, because I mean, the new season has started. It's way into the the free agent period. We're way past all of that. So I'm interested to know how he thought um, that the tampering occurred. Uh, I think more from the Heat angle. The main thing I take from it is uh, Lillard wanted to go to the Heat, but the Heat just didn't have the assets.
yeah,
The Heat didn't have the assets, or to or it might have been a case where the Heat weren't willing to meet the price for a 32-year-old Damian Lillard, which is totally reasonable. We're in this player empowerment era where Lillard's like, I want to go to the Heat. Well, I mean, it doesn't exactly, when you're a team, you're running an organization, you can't just be held hostage by that. You can obviously, good organizations will balance it out and think about the player's interest, but also, the organization's best interest. But when it comes down to it, I just never saw it. I never saw the pieces matching up there, and the Bucks just played it. I think they just played the long game, and then, like I said, it was apparent that this Heat trade just wasn't going to happen, and so now people play these teams waited around and they're like, okay, well, let's get in on this. The Heat thing's not happening, so that's my take. I don't see the tampering angle. Maybe I'm missing something here, but to me, it was Lillard wanting to go to this organization, and they just didn't have the pieces to make it work.
yeah. It's not like the Heat and the Blazers didn't try. It's not like they didn't engage in different scenarios. We heard Tyler Hero. We heard a lot of things like that, but we kept hearing that Portland just wasn't receiving enough. And Miami wasn't able to work out a third team or, however. But the way this trade works, it looks like these three teams had a lot of things in common where, like for example, the Suns, they were looking to move Aiton for a long time. You know what I mean? Portland wanted a young, uh, talented player in return. They got that in Aiton. And not only that, he's a big man. And by the way, he played well for Panama in the World Championships too.
Mm-hmm.
So him, it was him. It was Eric Gordon, Buddy Hield. Like I know him and Eric Gordon for sure. But they played well, and you could see a whole different Aiton in the World Championships. So maybe Chauncey Billups will take some of that and kind of roll that into Aiton with a new start. It's just a combination of things, as you said earlier, where it just didn't work. And Butler, you still have Bam. You know what I'm saying? You have a All NBA type player on your team. Butler's an All NBA player. Like we talked about, maybe Drew Holiday getting there. And so if you somehow get Drew Holiday, I think not all is lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we saw it last season. It was incredible the run they had, considering their pieces and their depth. I didn't think they had a lot of depth, especially especially on the offensive. I didn't think they had the talent, and they to get as far as they did was amazing. And but they need that third piece, especially on the offensive end. I'll tell you, he's happy. Probably Tyler Hero. He was. I mean, had to be one of the trade assets. Like he was pencil. I mean, you had to put him. You could put him down in pen. He was going to be in that trade.
Right,
So I'm sure
absolutely.
he's happy to be staying in Miami.
Yeah. And then, man, hey, guess what? Butler, you have a hero. 6-man role. I think he can thrive in a 6-man role. I think that was a good move for them. You still have Robinson who can shoot from the outside. And
Mm-hmm.
let's not forget, you have the head coach, Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches to ever do it. And you have that system that you have on offense where you move the ball and things like that. So Miami is not all lost in Miami. I wouldn't focus on not getting Lillard. I would look at trying to land Drew Holiday now at this point, and I think you'll be just fine. You might even get back to the finals,
Yeah,
but you know they might get back to the finals. And so what we're gonna do is talk about the Bucks and spin it all the way back around and talk about the chances of the Bucks getting to the finals. I mean, with Giannis, they made the finals a couple times already. Uh, I mean, they won one. I mean, they won a championship already. Excuse me. And so they've been in that hunt. They sometimes they fall short, like last season, getting the upset. But we're not surprised if the Bucks make it to the finals, and that was without Lillard. Now with Lillard, we're going to talk about, do we think they can win it all? Before we do that, I want to mention this, that Giannis has been working out with Akeem Olajuwon, or he's heading over there to do that. I've seen some film on them together in the same gym, so I think he's trying to work on. With the Nigerian, working on some his footwork, getting some offensive game. Because if we watch film on Giannis and we talked about him getting walled off earlier, he's pretty much a drive to the basket guy. He's going downhill, getting to the basket. Maybe Olajuwon can help him with a jump hook or some other type of moves with his back to the basket, and maybe that will add to this championship hopes as well. But do you think that there'll be big bucks cashed in Milwaukee this season?
yeah. So updated odds: Bucks about plus 360 to win it all. Then followed by the Nuggets plus 430. Um, I've got you probably get, I'm looking at an updated version. But anyways, you got
Okay.
Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics, Suns, Lakers, Warriors. So your favorites look like the Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics, and Suns. They're the betting favorites to win it all. Uh, yeah, man, it's interesting. I look at this. I look at this Celtics roster with Porzingis.
Wow. Yeah.
And I like that. I like the versatility he's going to bring to them on the offensive end. 'Cause I felt them to be a little bit more. I felt their offense was just a little stagnant at times, and too reliant on the two guards, Brown and Tatum. So I'm interested to see how Porzingis integrates into that, and if he can stay healthy. Um, but I'm looking at this. I still think, you know, gun to my head, I still like the Nuggets. Um, the Phoenix Suns to me are just a wild card. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't know what their health situation is going to look like.
That's the key.
And I just, it's hard for me to go out on a limb and say the Suns are the favorite. I like the top three. I think Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics. I'd probably switch. I'd probably go Nuggets, Bucks, Celtics in that order.
Mm,
I think they're the clear top three. Um, and yeah, the Suns are up there, but I think that's just a flashy, flashy. Like, oh, we got Kevin Durant. Let's look at let's give him taste. That's just Kevin Durant. That's basically just Kevin Durant. That's the vibe.
yeah.
So, but I definitely think they're one of the. I definitely agree with those top three. I'll still stick with, I'll still stick with the Nuggets right now. Um, I want to see. I need to see. I need to see some games with Lillard and see how that works.
Right. So continuity, you have to go with the Nuggets. MVP candidate again will be the Joker. Um,
They just got the
get you,
core. There's nothing changing about them. They
yeah,
got the
Jamal
shot for
Murray.
it. They got Jokic. I mean, their
Yeah,
core is set. I mean, they're gonna. Now you can argue, are they gonna bring it in the regular season like they have? But they don't. I don't. They don't need to. They can. They can cruise to a 2 or 3 seed and still. They got the championship chops now. I give them the edge right now in continuity. I'm gonna do a little wait and see approach with Lillard, but definitely they're definitely one of the top three contenders, I believe.
yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with you with those three teams. Um, will they win it all? That's going to be a tough one to say. I think, and again, I'm gonna go more deep into detail with predictions when we do the NBA preview show on October 3rd. But I'm thinking right now, my answer as far as this specific question, will they win it all? My answer is going to be no. They won't win it all. But that doesn't mean they won't make it to the finals. But we'll get more into that next week. All right, any closing remarks?
No, I think the big thing that could translate for the Bucks is in the playoffs. You have, I always view Giannis as still this kind of an unstoppable force at getting to the basket. He doesn't. He isn't the natural one-on-one scorer
Right.
uh, that we think of. He just is so skilled and athletic. It's just hard to keep him away from the basket. His shooting has improved, but still, there's a game plan to guarding him. So we get in the playoffs, and you have Damian Lillard, who is one of the best one-on-one players uh, offensively in the league. Still, that's gonna. I think that's gonna be the part that translates, right? And especially when you get in the playoffs, what do you need? You need people who can get their own shots and get buckets because the intensity wraps up. When you get late in games, you need those people. You need those type scores. So that's where they're going to see dividends. Um, if Lillard can stay healthy, and that's where they're going to see. That's where we're going to see. That's where it's going to pay off. This trade's going to pay off potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Way to close it out there, the show. And you closed out the show for today. And I appreciate appreciate you being in here and coming through with the information. But yeah, excellent NBA news today. Uh brings a little more juice to the season. And by the way, we're gonna have that fantasy basketball draft coming up in a couple weeks too. So I think Lillard's name and Giannis' name will come up pretty soon in that, early in that draft. So man, that's gonna be exciting. All right. Well, for the show, I'm Mr. 411. We thank everybody for tuning in. We'll see you later.